Good evening, students. I hope you all are doing well. And how is your test preparation going? I hope it is going well. Hope you are all doing the DPS and the work at leisure practice sheets that I have attached in this app. With every concept and every session that we are having, I've made sure that you have enough, material to practice. I hope you're all practicing that. And apart from that, I hope you are giving a good importance to your math part also. And how are your reading tests going on? I have uploaded an umpteen number of passages and different kinds of science passages and speeches and history passages, literature passages. I hope you're all doing it and practicing it well. And apart from that, I have also made sure that after every session that you are having right now, you have umpteen questions to follow and you're able to practice the concept well so that you will be able to score a 400 on a 400 on the evidence-based writing part. I wish you all the best for the practice and uh, you know any further help that you would like to know or something, you can just comment or leave a message. Definitely we will take care of that too. I will take care of that too. Okay, so that's I hope your preparation is going at par with the kind of score that you would want to achieve. So let's go forward with this session. I'm Deepa. I'll be taking you forward with this parallel structure session. And this session is very important for the SAT aspirants or the ACT aspirants who feel that they really want to score a good, they really want to know the nuances of the language or how to combine together a sentence structure, how to find an error outright. We have done syntax yesterday. Yesterday's session we had syntax, and we understand that syntax is what is the basic sentence structure. And the more you go complex, for a simple sentence, we can suffice with things, but as we are going complex, as we are going compound complex, the sentence structure becomes complicated and messy, and we need to understand that we are going in the right way. So parallel structure, this session on parallel structure will help you understand better, help you follow the format. And I'm Deepa. I will take you through the session. Okay, so let's start the session. And okay, what is parallelism, or what does parallel do we know what are parallel lines? When we're talking about parallel lines, there are two lines that go parallelly. There is no intersection. That is what it is. So we start with parallel, and parallelism also is known as parallel structure. If you can see here. Okay. We're talking about parallel structure here. Is when a phrases in a sentence have similar or same grammatical structure. We are looking at a similar or the same grammatical structure. This is what parallel structure is. So in its most basic usage, parallelism provides a phrase with balance and clarity. Parallelism also serves to give phrases a pattern and rhythm. Okay, so parallelism, basically you might have seen that, when we are talking about parallel structure, we are basically talking about the same grammatical structure, and we are talking about a pattern, we are talking about a rhythm. Remember lectures or songs where you have a repetitive phrase going on. That is what a parallel structure is. Let's check some examples of parallel structure to understand it better. You're going to what an example other than Martin Luther King Jr.'s famous speech. I have a dream that one day this nation. So you will see that in every line he talks about this is what is called a parallel structure. It's an example, a classic example of parallelism, as each paragraph begins with an evocative phrase, I have a dream, and is followed by a noun phrase and a verb will. Okay, the shared grammatical structure from phrase to phrase gives this piece a rhythm that makes it more powerful, inspiring, and memorable. The moment you spell out, you tell something, and then you give a break, and then you again start, I have a dream, and then again you start, I have a dream. See, it just not only starts with one day, you just see, I have a dream that one day this nation will. I have a dream that one day on the red hills. I have a dream that one day even the state of, see, everywhere you see that, he is talking about something that is repeating. This is the classic example of a parallelism. Okay, so you would see this quite often in poems. You will see this in songs, in pop. Where you see the singer repeating the same phrase, the strong, powerful phrase again and again, and that you hums in your mind. It goes on and on and on and on. That is what is parallelism. Okay, so let's go forward. Why should we have parallelism? Let's check that. Simple uses of parallelism create readable and understandable passages. Sentences are best understood when structured in a grammatically parallel fashion. So when you have a grammatically parallel fashion, you will be able to understand it better. You will be able to it is more easier for you to understand. It is more understandable, and it is more the moment you look at it, you understand, okay, fine, this is all clean and this is completely this going. Most importantly, though, parallelism also provides prose, poetry, and speeches with symmetry that the human eye and ear both crave. This symmetry creates a rhythm and repetition which can make phrases more catchy, memorable, or compelling. So you should see, this is what is more important, more catchy, memorable, and or compelling. So the basic purpose is that when you are listening to something, you feel the repetition, the rhythm, see the beginning of the sentence, the rhythm and repetition, that matters. And one more thing is that whenever you're using using parallelism, as we go forward in the session, we will be understanding that it is more than just this catchy phrases and stuff like that. It is more than that. You would follow the same kind of a degree of comparison. You would use the same kind of a tense, and you would use the same kind of a gerund format. So it's going to make it more easier. It's going to make it sounds much more better. Okay, so let's go forward. Parallelism may be found in creative pieces such as poetry and songs as well. More formal pieces such as formal papers and speeches. This musicality also creates memorable and quotable phrases, as can be seen from Armstrong, King, Teresa, and others. So I have used just some couple of examples. One was the classic example. I love this speech given by Mr. King, the I Have a Dream, and I don't know how much he would have actually prepared for giving such a memorable speech, that even after so many years after his demise, I think he was assassinated in 1964, and still we are going with it. Okay, so so the more catchy it is. I have a dream. So the moment you think about it, you become so inspired. You have become so are reluctant to subside your desires, subside your rights, and you become much more, you feel powerful rather. Okay, so they are memorable, they are compelling, they are more catchy. Yes, they are all of them. Okay, so let's go forward and check some more examples. So parallel structure in a poetry. See the following excerpt from E. E. Cummings' poem, Love is More Than Forget. Love is more thicker than forget, more thinner than recall, more seldom than a wave is wet, more frequent than to fail. It is most mad and moonly, and less it shall unbe. Than all the sea which only is deeper than the sea. Love is less always than to win, love is never than alive. Love is bigger than the least begin, little less littler than forgive. See, here you see there's so much of the basically the parallelism here is giving all the beauty, and the it's decorating the poem with so many things. Just have a look at this. More thicker, more thinner, more seldom, more frequent. It is most, see, you're using a than also here. Okay, and then it is most mad and moonly, and less it shall unbe than all the sea which only is deeper than, is less than, less than, never than alive, less bigger than, less littler than. So this is what is creating the beauty in the whole poem than the poem itself. A poem can be written in different ways, but see the structure, see how beautifully it has been joined together, and how beautifully it has been um, you know so that is what I wanted to show you when I was talking about parallelism. It adds beauty for sure. Okay, so in you see that, you will see the comparative degree being used and comparison being done. So, and that has followed in every aspect of the uh, poem. Let's go forward. So the poem has various instances of parallelism. The love phrase is created parallelism when it is repeated at the beginning of two stanzas. Okay, successive phases containing more and less also serve to create parallel structure. This use of parallel structure builds upon the idea of what love is, with numerous descriptions that attempt to describe something beyond description. Okay, so then now let's talk about the related terms. Now we have to understand what basically parallelism is. So what we have to do is we have to understand that how parallelism can be created, and we understood that it adds beauty, it is more compelling, and it is more catchy, it has a rhythm, it has, but why do you need it is the most important thing. And how is it created? Is it a conception of the teacher itself, of the writer? I would not say teacher. Is it the conception of the writer, or does it have a structure? Does it have a proper way of using it? Are there any rules of using it, or you just use it because you know how to use it? How is it? So let's check what are they. So related terms here are basically the anaphora and epistrophe. Now parallelism is simple structural guideline often used in more advanced structures. So here are a few examples of parallelism as it is used in similar devices. Okay. Okay, so that is what it is. It is basically the similar it is basically the structural guidelines that we need to follow, and which is more advanced constructions, in more advanced constructions. And let's see some of the examples here. They are basically the anaphora and the epistrophe. These are basically some things that we need to follow, and this will tell us how to use it. So what we need to understand here is simple structural guidelines in more advanced constructions. Clear? So we'll go forward with what is anaphora. Anaphora is a specific type of parallelism in which the same word or phrase is repeated. Please check this. Is repeated at the beginning of a successive sentence. This is what anaphora is. Let's check. There's some of the examples. Be strong, be brave, be courageous. So the word be is repetitive, and this is what is anaphora. Give all of your energy, give all of your time, give everything you have to give. We have this too, but so therefore we have to just check with this. Clear? She is my best friend. She's the love of my life. She's my wife. Good. This is what is anaphora. In the above sentence examples, parallelism and anaphora are used in the repetition of be, give, and she's at the beginning of successful phrases. This is what is parallelism. Now, the moment in the third one, we have only give, therefore I have to remove all and I have to take only give. I have to remove this and I have to give only this. So I need to see only that word which is being repeated in all the words. Even if the give all is repeated in the first two sentences in the second sentence, still because in the third one we are not able to have give all, we cannot use give all as the same phrase in the beginning. So it is not anaphora. So therefore only give is anaphora. Clear? So this is basically used to invoke power in a speech, to invoke a sense of rhythm, and to invoke a sense of it's more about being more catchy. Let's go forward with epistrophe. And epistrophe is a specific type of parallelism in which the same word or phrase is repeated at the end of the successive sentences. Let's check. When you fail, you must be kind. When you succeed, you must be kind. So when you see this, you must be kind. You must be kind. This is not just his issue. This is not just your issue. It's everyone's issue. So therefore, we have the issue here, issue here, issue here. On my birthdays, I eat pizzas. On good days, I eat pizza. And on bad days, I eat pizza. And the last time I had pizza, I had the worst day of my life. It did not go well with my stomach. Okay, so on my birthdays, I eat pizza. So I eat pizza, I eat pizza, and I eat pizza is basically the apostrophe that I'm talking about. Now, in the before slide, we have seen that where you started some sentences with this, and in this, we are seeing when you're ending something with this, this is what is anaphora and apostrophe is. And if you think, so therefore, in these kinds of examples, repetition of words, be kind or issue, and I eat pizza, and at the end of the sentences create parallelism in the form of apostrophe. Now, if you feel that I am wasting a precious 60 minutes of our time together to tell you what is in the beginning of the sentence and what is in the end of the sentence, if you feel this is what I'm going to teach you, I'm sorry, you're wrong. We have much more to learn than just aphora, anaphora, and epistrophe, because we have just not even tapped the basic thing of it. Parallelism provides phrases with grammatical symmetry. This symmetry creates a rhythm and repetition, which can make phrases more catchy, memorable, or compelling. We have already learned that. Parallelisms may be found in creative pieces such as poetry and songs, as well as more formal pieces such as more formal papers and speeches. So how to write a parallelism? In order to use parallelism, there is a normal sentence and there is a sentence with a parallel structure. Let's see this. A normal sentence. She enjoys knitting and sewing, and she also enjoys embroidering. Although this sentence is grammatically correct, it is not grammatically parallel. As the subject, verb, and object phrase, she also enjoys embroidering interrupts the pattern formed by the gerunds knitting and sewing. In order to improve this sentence turn, she also enjoys embroidering into a gerund in which to match knitting and sewing. Let's check out. This is what is parallelism in aspect of our SAT examination. The adjusted sentence has not lost its original meaning, but it has gained a greater balance and symmetry, improving the reader's experience. So here, this is what we are going to talk about parallelism in the aspect of SAT examination. When to use parallelism? As can be seen in previous examples, parallelism can be used in a wide variety of situations. It can be used for polishing speeches. See, we have done it. I have a dream. Amazing. It looks so powerful with repetition. Creating lists of characteristics and simplifying sentences with improved structure. Parallelism should be used in everyday speech for clarity and informal writing for structure. It can also be used as an artistic element in poetry, prose, creating attractive rhythm and so not only parallelism is used as in anaphora and epistrophe that we learned just now, it is also used for polishing speeches. It is also used to add that artistic element in a sentence. As I told you, in aspect of your SAT examination, it is used to create a balance in the sentence. It is used to create rhythm and symmetry. And we need to find that rhythm and symmetry, and that is what is going to help us. So let's go forward and check, why do writers use parallelism? Parallelism is an important tool at any writer's disposal and can be used for a variety of purposes: to emphasize the relationship between two or more sentences in a paragraph, or two or more ideas within a single sentence, to compare or contrast two different things or ideas, to create a stronger sense of rhythm in a text, to drive home a point through repetition, to elaborate on an idea. Yes. Now, these are the following things that we need to follow. Notice how even the bulleted list above is an example of parallelism. See, we have used two. Great. It's easy to read in part because the grammatical structure of each line is identical, beginning with an infinite to plus verb. Parallelism is everywhere because it's one of the rules of grammar that makes ideas, both simple and complex, easier to understand. So this is how it is. So this is the reason why writers use parallelism. Me being a writer too, I use a lot of parallelism. I try to create the rhythm with using the same phrase again and again. And it really makes my work more better, sound better, and it creates a sense of impact on the reader. Okay, so yeah. Apart from this, I would also like to tell you some more things. Now, when we are using parallelism, so now we understand that it is a repetitive phrase that we use again and again. So therefore, if I'm using a verb, for example, simple present tense, I should continue to use it till the last end of the sentence. In the especially this comes in when we are using the complex sentences. We have to make sure that we are basically using the same kind of tense in the whole sentence structure. One of the best uses of parallelism is basically to understand that we are at sync with the rules. And one more thing that we should know about it is that it's a chosen grammatical sentence, so therefore it is basically used to understand what it is to, for example, if I say that if I'm using a gerund form of ing, I should make sure that I'm using it in all the sentences and I'm not deviating from it. If I'm using a tense, I should make sure that I'm using the same kind of a tense in the whole of the sentence, and I'm not switching over to simple present tense or past or future. But if I'm using a simple present tense, I have to make sure that the whole sentence is in simple present tense only. Okay, and if I'm talking about basically using the gerund form ing, I should make sure that I'm using the same thing. So therefore, one classic reason of, I'll give you 5 golden rules that you should know about parallelism. The first one is, when you connect 2 or more clauses or phrases with a conjunction, use parallel structure. Let's see the example. So basically, when you're connecting 2 words or phrases, use parallel structure. For example, it could be with a conjunction, definitely. My friend this is exactly what I'm trying to say when I'm saying that, you can use a parallel structure. This is basically when you connect 2 or more clauses or phrases with a conjunction for and not but use parallel structure. My friend took me dancing and to a show does not make sense, but my friend took me to a dance and a show makes sense. So therefore here I have to make sure that the nouns dance and show are in the same format. I cannot use instead of dance, I cannot use as dancing. This is wrong. Clear? So one more thing that we have to do is observe parallel elements while comparing or while comparison. For example, I like to read books over watching movies. Now here I said example is I like to read books over watching movies. When I say this, I need to understand the words. See, here read books and watching, they are not symmetrical. They are not parallel at all. So what I need to understand is that I should rather say I like reading books over watching movies. This is very important when I'm talking about parallel structure. Then the next one is, these are the basic grammar rules that we need to follow for our SAT examination. Here we spoke about using conjunctions, right? So the same thing goes with the correlative conjunctions also. So when you're talking about Sam wants both a satisfying job and that pays well does not go well. Rather, it should go like Sam wants both a satisfying and a well-paying job. So the basic thing is that we need to see that the sentence structure, whether it is a noun, whether it is an adjective, whether it is a verb, should match together. So that is the most basic thing that we're looking at. We also have to observe elements in a list. We need to observe elements in a list. Example, traditional societies believe the king to be a religious, a political, a social, and head of the military forces. Now, whenever you are saying this, whenever you're talking about a list, we need to understand that when we have a sentence so long, we need to understand traditional societies believe the king to be a religious, a social, and head of the military forces. When we say that, rather, the easier way of doing it is traditional societies believed the king to be a religious, social, remove this a, social, and military head. This makes it sound better. So we are going to talk about the king. Traditional societies believe the king to be a religious, social, and military head. So this makes it more clear than creating a lot of sentences and stuff like that. Is it clear now? The last one that we should do is, when we are using a comparison, then we should always such as use parallel structure. For example, I would rather pay for my education than financial aid. So in this case, they are basically clauses, two clauses, which where I'm using the comparative format and using words such as than and as. And here in this case, I have to make sure that I have to make sure if I'm using a verb somewhere in the second part of the clause also, I need to make sure that I carry that verb forward. If I'm using a certain form of a noun, I need to make sure in the second part also I carry the same kind of a noun. If I'm using a tense, I have to make sure that I'm using the same tense for the next part of the sentence too. And if I'm carrying a gerund form, I need to make sure that I'm not using an infinite verb in the middle, but I'm continuing to use the same kind of a format further too. So we need to make sure that these are very clear to us before we move forward. Okay, so now we're going to answer the following questions to understand the concept better. I hope this is clear. So apart from the anaphora and the epistrophe of where you see parallelism in the beginning of a sentence and the end of the sentence for rhythm and symmetry, as we go along, we also need to understand that there should be symmetry in a sentence too, in a compound sentence or in a for example, if I have a compound sentence, I cannot have one form of verb in one independent clause and one form of verb in the next independent clause. I need to make sure that both of them have a similar, tense form. It goes with the tense, it goes with the verb, it goes, verb and tense are the same. It goes with the tense, it goes with the noun, and it also goes with the gerund format. So this is a basic thing that we need to understand. Even when we're using conjunctions, we need to make sure that we're using it appropriately, especially in correlative conjunctions. We need to make sure that whatever format that we are using in the beginning carries in the until the end of the sentence. Okay, so let's answer some of the questions. They are basically MCQs and we would see what is this. Young children often find it easier to memorize lists of names by hearing, learning, and repeat simple, catchy musical settings. Let's check the sentence here. So here we have hearing, here we have learning. Therefore, this should be repeating. Clear? Let's go to the next question. A Nahid seeks to gain practical experience. See this, understand the structure very carefully. A Nahid seeks to gain practical experience, to learn effective strategies, and acquiring knowledge about education practices. Now here we see a lot of anaphora. See, check this out. We are using to gain. We're using these words here and it is missing here. Let's check the options. So the moment you see anaphora is being used and in the third part of the sentence anaphora is not used, therefore the answer is D. We have to understand that the anaphora actually talks about the infinite verb here and we have to continue using that until the end of the sentence. This is exactly what I'm saying. If you're using something in the beginning, it has to be done until the end. Otherwise, you don't use it at all. Clear? Let's go to the next question. After meeting 6 simultaneous deadlines, Helen wanted nothing more than eat macaroni and cheese, curl up in fetal position on floor, and to go to sleep. So here, let's look at the options. Here, probably my picture is if you see this here, you will see to eat, to go. So therefore, let's check what the answer is now. Clear? So we have to eat, to go. Therefore, here, when the question is here, you check that there is a problem here. Again, this is a situation of anaphora, and we are going to use this answer as D. Let's go to the next question. The process of writing, revising, and to submit a manuscript for publication can take months. Sure it does. No change, submitting, submit, submission. Now you have to check that you have a gerund form here, writing, revising. So therefore, this cannot go with it. Therefore, it has to be number B. Option B. Clear? Let's go to the next part of the sentence. Bio could not decide whether he should become an astronaut, study medicine, or riding the garbage truck. Now here, you see become an astronaut, study medicine. Therefore, what are the options? What do you think should be the right one? This is, so therefore the next one should be B. Clear? Let's go to the next one. Rwandan conversationist Edwin Subuhoro is taking a new approach to wildlife poaching prevention, luring poachers away from crime by training them to become farmers. See the 4 options here, and then check what are you trying to not paralyze, I'm sorry. Where are you trying to create that parallelism structure? Check here. Poaching, luring. Therefore, this does not go well with it. So therefore, B is the right option. Let's go forward. Now here, in this, we are going to talk about noun forms. In this noun forms, you can see requires, backpacking across requires fortitude, stamina, and being strong. There is no being format here, I mean the ing format here. So therefore, look at the options. Therefore, it is going to be B. Clear? It has to be B. Let's go forward with the next question. Jill was kind, thoughtful, and being considerate to her friends. Now here, we are having adjectives. Kind is an adjective, thoughtful is an adjective. So therefore, I should have one more adjective here. Therefore, being is, there is no need for a being, and let's check the options. Therefore, I'll go with B. And considerate to her friends. Clear? We'll go forward. The fennec fox hunts at night, digs out dens in sand, and mate for life. Here, we have to look at the verb format. Verb format, hunts, it is in simple present tense. Digs, simple present tense. Therefore, for here, we have to check. Because it is in simple present tense, we have to go with the third one also. C is the right option. Let's go forward. Relaxing by the poolside and sip a glass of lemonade are two of my favorite things to do. Here, I have, let's look at the options first. Here, you have something called relaxing. So therefore, here, we should follow the same gerund format, and therefore we are going to use B, sipping. Let's go to the next question. Sally aims to reach and retain 1 million users by the end of the year. Now, Sally aims to reach and retain 1 million users by the end of the year. Check the options. Here, we are looking at the infinite verb. When an infinite verb is being used, to form is used, it's an infinite verb. And when you have two verbs together, you don't have to use two times. Rather, we can use just 1, 2, and then we can create the sentence. So therefore, Sally aims to reach and retain 1 million users by the end of the year. No change is the best option. Let's go to the next question. The warrior hosted his ruby-hilted sword, will twirl it in the air and slew the ugly dragon. Now check here. Hoisted, past tense, slew, past tense. So therefore, let's look at the options. Therefore, we have to make sure what is the now here we have to check one thing. What is slew? How is the slews changing? Therefore, that is going to give us an idea about what to use here, right? One thing is the warrior hoisted his ruby-hilted sword. You could say twirled it in the air and slew the ugly dragon. But there's a problem here. If I'm going to use, there is a simple past tense here. This is simple present tense because the past tense of slew is basically slewed. Therefore, I cannot use, if I have to use, here it is very, very difficult because in the first part of the sentence, I have hoisted, it is simple present tense, simple past tense. And here I have simple present tense. This is simple past. So therefore, this has to be twirl, if I have to go with this. Twirled, if I have to go with this. So therefore, there is an error in the question. I should go with twirled, see, that's right. But at the same time, here also, I should be using this. Clear? Let's go forward to the next question. Little Red Riding Hood sauntered down the stairs, will whip her cape and encountered the big bad wolf. Now here, sauntered is in simple past tense. Encountered is in simple past tense. So therefore, let's look at the options. C is the best option, that is simple past tense. Clear? Let's go to the next question. To demonstrate his interest in the University of California, Los Angeles, Sam visited the campus, interviewed with the admissions officers, and has attended several classes. Now. Here we have visited that talks about simple past tense. Interviewed, that talks about simple past tense. And here has attended is present perfect tense. So therefore, let's look at the options. We have to go with B. I hope you understood this well. Let's go to the next question. On his rafting trip through the Grand Canyon, Chase learned how to fish, building up a fire and repair a split in the raft. Now here we are talking about infinite verb to, with to, whatever. It's an infinite verb here. So therefore, the ones we have started with an infinite verb, we don't have to use that infinite verb in every next verb that we are using, but rather we can continue with just 1, 2, and we can continue with all the other verbs. So therefore, here I have to fish. It is in simple present tense. So therefore, the second one is also repair, fish. So therefore, let's look at the options and check our answers. Yes. So therefore, D is the right option. Let's go forward. Artist Bill Domingos manipulates old photographs, alters video footage, and will superimpose GIFs to create multimedia works of art. Now here, we are talking about simple present tense again. Manipulates, alters. Let's look at the options. Therefore, because this is in simple present tense, both the things in simple present tense, this also has to be in simple present tense. Therefore, C is the best answer. Let's go to the next question. The scouts arranged the logs into a teepee shape, placed the newspaper kindling inside, and by lighting the match. Now here we have a simple past tense, arranged, simple past, placed, simple past, and here there's a problem. Let's look at the options. We are looking for a simple past tense, and the simple past tense of light is lit. So therefore, we'll go with the option D. Let's go to the next question. The witch created an evil scheme by disguising herself. I always have a problem with this word, disguise. Either sometimes I use it as disguise, sometimes I go it with disguise. Somehow I don't completely remember how it should be pronounced. So sorry if I have made a mistake. Herself and enticing Snow White to eat the apple. Now, because we have an ing form here, I think an ing form here makes sense. So let's look at the options. We'll go with no change. Clear? Now, because we are going to talk about disguising or disguising herself, so therefore we are going to talk about enticing also. That is in the gerund form. Basically, it's in present progressive participle. I mean, progressive participle. It's an adjective here. Okay. So we'll go with the same thing. Let's go forward. 500 new fairy tales were recently discovered in Germany. They have since been studied, preserved, and archived. Let's look at the options. Here it says simple past tense, studied, preserved. Therefore, this makes sense. I don't think we require a change. So therefore, we'll go with A. Let's go to the next question. The recent rise in popularity of fundraising sites like GoFundMe and Indiegogo Inc. has led one New York Times writer to question whether our society is losing sight of the distinction between what we want and what we need. This is a perfect example of epistrophe, right? So let's go forward and check the options. I don't think it requires a change because it is perfectly well what we want and what we need. If we don't want to change anything here because both the verbs want and need are perfect in simple present tense. So therefore, we'll go with no change. Is it clear? Yeah. So this is what parallel structure is. So we have learned about anaphora, we have learned about epistrophe, we have learned some more grammar rules about how to create. So we need to understand basically that in an anaphora, we're going to make sure we are going to see repetition of a word or phrase or a clause in the beginning of the sentence. In an epistrophe, we'll see the repetition of a word, phrase, or clause at the end of a sentence. This creates parallel structure. And then we have also seen that whatever, in all the questions that we have done till now, we have seen that we have maintained the form of adjective, the form of verb, and the form of noun as, again, they are parallel and it is more clear. Okay, so that is how you have to learn parallel structure, and this is really going to be a very important part of your SAT evidence-based writing examination. So therefore, please, I hope this session was informative, and I hope this session was informative and useful. Thank you so much.